Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So listen, guys, look, right. Let me just be clear with everyone, okay? Let me just be clear, precise with everyone. I've been saying this since I started these channels, right? We are heading towards a global conflict on an industrial scale. That is the direction of travel we are heading right now. Kind of isn't any runoff to that. There isn't any runoff. You can pretend that doing this or this might happen or this might happen. Like, I am going to be focusing today on the huge military buildup off the coast of Iran. You've got the U.S. military. Remember, guys, okay? The U.S. military is not. You don't oppose. Nobody opposes the U.S. military. It's not feasible to oppose the U.S. military. They've got all the airplanes. They've got all the ships. They've got all the personnel. They've got all the kit and equipment, and they've got all the motivated soldiers. However, the Iranians, the Russians, and the Chinese are having a joint military exercise in the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm going to come on to that in a second. Now, there's no such thing, and there never has been, there's no such thing as military exercises. What they are is war rehearsals. From day one in the military, all your military exercises are geared around what the most likely threat is. For example, if you're the Iranians and you believe there may be a threat on the south coast in the Persian Gulf by the Strait of Hormuz, then guess what? All your military exercises are geared around countering that threat. If you are the United States and you believe that you may need to do military strike options in the Persian Gulf around the Strait of Hormuz, guess what? All your military exercises are geared around that capacity. If you're in the infantry, and the likelihood of you being deployed as a peacekeeper force into, I don't know, Kosovo or wherever, then all your military exercises are geared around that. So there's there's no such thing as military exercises. There is war rehearsals. So every time you hear the words or the phrase military exercises, that is literally synonymous with with war rehearsals. So what I'm going to start with here is and then I'm going to start with this, and I'm just going to share a news article with you guys because I can't really articulate this better than the news articles do it. But before we get on to that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we will go down some wild side quests. We may be talking about aliens and reptilians and ancient technology, but I want to ground the first bit of this live stream at least. I want to ground the first bit of this live stream in reality of what's happening right now in the Middle East. So first of all, there's a huge military buildup from the United States. Russia, China, Iran are also deploying ships to that region, and they're doing a military exercise. Remember, there's no military exercises. There's just war rehearsals. So, excuse me. What I want to talk about is the fresh commercial imagery analyzed by independent, experts, and this is out on the mainstream, that show Iran is moving with real purpose at one of their most sensitive military sites. A place Israel reportedly struck back in 2024. Was it 24? Sorry, 25. Was it 25? Sorry, 25. Tehran has poured concrete over brand new underground facilities and then piled soil on top, creating what looks like a very much hardened shield against future airstrikes. They're not stopping there. A key nuclear site that took a direct hit from the Americans during the intense 12-day war last year. They've now buried the tunnel entrances deep under earth and rock. Nearby other tunnel mouths have been heavily fortified, and missile bases hammered. Missiles that hammered the same bases in that conflict. They are being repaired, refurbished, patched up, and brought back online. That's what's happening. There is absolutely, well, you know what? Maybe, listen, guys, and I'll be clear right now, I don't even know what's real anymore. I watched some, I was going to do this tonight, but I think I'm going to save it for tomorrow. I watched some images, right? Some footage of Chinese robots spinning nunchucks, right? I thought it was AI. I was like, yeah, that's AI. Straight away, I was like, yeah, that's AI. Turns out it's not AI. And I'm absolutely terrified about that. But I am going to save that. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to do that tomorrow, guys. But this is all moving forwards now. So if you've got to look at the broader context, all right, take everything, take the peace negotiations. And listen, guys, if you live in the United Kingdom, I'm going to come on to sleeper cells in a second, because when this kicks off, March 2026, like I've been saying for years, I may even share the videos with you guys at some point. I may even share all the times, like years ago, I've said, no, March 2026. So when I talk about aliens and stuff, I'm not doing it from a side of, ooh, I'm doing it from a side of, that's the information that I'm seeing, right? The information, the direction of travel, that's what I'm seeing. And whether you think it's crazy or not, let's just wait and see, right? Time's a great vindicator. Now, back in November 2023, the United States signed a decree or something, I don't know what it was, saying that they would not accept that the Islamic Republic of Iran gaining a nuclear weapon would be unacceptable to the United States, and they would take all action necessary to prevent this. 2, they would support freedom of action for any regional partners who would also want Iran to not have a nuclear. Basically, they're putting in law that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, and they'll do whatever it takes to stop that. The Iranians, however, have other ideas. They are refurbishing, rebuilding, reinforcing, repairing the facilities that were struck. These are not cosmetic fixes. These are deliberate, calculated hardenings, reinforcings of the very installations that were struck, that were at the heart of the standoff between Israel, the United States, and Iran back in last year, whenever it was. While Washington talks about sitting down with Tehran to negotiate limits on nuclear programs, dangling the promise of a deal, the other hand is holding a very big stick. And by big stick, I don't mean just a big stick. I mean like a big, heavy stick that nobody else has got a stick even close to. It's such a big stick, right? The United States military stick is so big, it's bigger than anyone else's stick by a factor of 10. The United States Air Force is the biggest air force in the world. And I always say this because I just think the statistics are phenomenal. The United States, the US Air Force is the biggest air force in the world. The second biggest air force is the US Navy. It's for, like, you don't even want to deal with that. They're saying military action if diplomacy collapses, which it will. Iran, for his part, isn't wanting to find out which hand wins. They're building bunkers, burying access points, shielding new constructions, and preparing for the worst while the diplomats still exchange pleasantries. And I've been on these meetings, guys. I have. I've been on these meetings. Like, I've been to meetings that everybody knows that nothing's going to happen. I've been to meetings, negotiations where both sides know that nothing's going to happen, but they're quite polite to each other. They're very polite. They're very courteous. They have some fantastic food. But they all know that nothing's going to happen, right? So what does this tell us? It tells us, one, Tehran believes there is a high risk of another round of airstrikes, right? Whether it's Israeli, America, both, they believe that threat is real and imminent. It tells us they're learning fast from the damage inflicted last year and are moving to make their critical assets far harder to destroy next time. And it tells us the window for any genuine negotiation, any genuine breakthrough in some sort of like there's ever going to be this. But the window is narrowing because every meter of concrete poured on that facility, every ton of soil mounted up on top of those entrances is a vote of no confidence. If the United States and Israel don't look, guys, and I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong. I think, I think all wars are pointless. In 10 years, nobody will care. And I think we should stop fighting each other as in humans, and we should start building spaceships. That's what I think, right? And I've been quite clear on that. I've never changed. I've always said that, and I've never decided anything different. So I genuinely believe that. But every meter of concrete that the Iranians get to pour on those facilities. So think about it, right? You've got these big facilities, and the Iranians are saying, right, okay, well, they only just got through last time, or maybe they didn't quite get through, or maybe we've still got quite a lot of kit and equipment still intact. Not taking anything away from the US Air Force at all. That was a phenomenal mission, right? What I'm saying is physics doesn't lie. Doesn't matter how good your military is. It doesn't matter how good your Air Force is. Physics and engineering, they're pretty much constants, right? They're pretty much constants. So the bunker busters that they used, quite long lines, I think, they're quite long. And they go down, right? They go down, they burrow down into the ground, they go really fast, they burrow down, and then they explode. Now, the problem with that, the engineering problems with that is this presumes that you get a perfect strike, right? So you have to be going perfectly down, 90 degrees, you need to hit that, or whatever you want to call it. So that needs to hit perfectly there for all the force to be on this point, right? For all the force to be on this point, and then you go straight down. Now, if this is at a cant, 89 degrees, 88 degrees, 87 degrees, whatever, then this area on the cant starts to take that force, and it becomes so much less efficient. Anyway, look, I don't know. I've not had access to the I've not had access to any of the Iranian nuclear structural reports, and I don't know. All I know is that you've got operationally, you've got when things happen in training, right? They happen under the controlled circumstances. When they happen operationally, there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of unknowns, right? So maybe these facilities have not been destroyed permanently. And look, if you're a country, right, and you have to pour a shit ton of concrete, guess what? You can say to all your concrete mixing machines and everyone, say, right, stop everything you're doing. Everyone, go and pour concrete now. Literally everyone, go and pour concrete now. And that gets poured, right? The United States will be watching this and they'll be saying, right, okay, if we don't strike now, they're going to pour so much concrete, it's going to be pointless because we can't get through that much concrete, right? Excuse me. So as we are in 2026, watching satellite photos reveal what words alone cannot hide. Iran is digging in, literally. They are digging in, guys. They're digging in and pouring in. They're pouring in. They're digging in and pouring concrete. Now, the question is whether the tensions are rising, and I think they are. I don't think there's any argument with that. You've got to understand that the United States will be watching this. Of course, they've got better, the United States have got better intelligence than I have on on open source media. But if I can tell that the Iranians are pouring concrete, then I would speculate the United States military can tell that they're pouring concrete, right? It would be silly to say that anything otherwise. So if that concrete gets to a certain level, then those airstrikes will be irrelevant, which means boots on the ground in Iran to conduct that mission. Or you let the Iranians just continue. And we already know that's not an option, right? So that's the situation, what is happening in Iran right now. And I know what you guys are thinking. I do. I know exactly what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, Sean, how does this affect us here in the United Kingdom? Well, do you know what? I'm going to tell you in a minute. But first, I'm going to jump onto the chat. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream. We're talking about the conflict, the ever-growing conflict in Iran. This is going to kick off very soon. Years ago, I said March 2026 was the date. Looks like it is going to be the date. Let me jump up and get some. Oh, hang on a minute. Andy is saying I'm drinking scotch. Well done, Andy, for drinking scotch. Is it a good one? Is it a good one? Are you sipping it and do you have any water with it? Rod Panhard, I love Rod Panhard gives some fantastic messages. Hang on, before Rod Panhard. Will aliens get involved, says David King. Right, let's save these messages till like after half an hour. But I would say not if only conventional weapons are used. Rod is saying there is no negotiation with the US, Israel. The last couple of times Iran was invited to negotiate, they tried to do a regime change on them during the negotiations. It's very easy to point the finger at the United States and Israel. I've worked in the Middle East, and I would say there's no negotiating with. I would say there's no negotiating with the Middle East either. I would say the Iranians are difficult. They don't understand what's at stake. And a lot of these Iranians are, religious fundamentalists, right? They are absolutely, look, and I'm not, good luck to them, right? And they think that their God, Allah, will protect them. And that may be true, right? That may absolutely be true that their God will protect them. Didn't work out very well when the US sent their stealth bombers, right? Didn't really work out. There wasn't any thunderbolts coming from the sky taking out those B-2 bombers. Again, it may be the case that Allah has saved them and, those nuclear facilities are not. But what I'm getting at here is there's a certain ideology that you just can't negotiate with. You really can't negotiate with some ideologies. And Iran, I would say, is the Iranian regime as well. You've got to understand that the Iranian regime, you have Arab Iranians and you have Persian Iranians, right? We need to separate the two. We absolutely need to separate the two. I was in the army with the Persian Iranian guy, solid guy, like absolute solid guy. I still talk to him now, actually. Solid guy. He wasn't a fundamentalist. He wasn't anything like. He just wanted to keep his head down, do his bit, and and get on in life. He wasn't a religious fundamentalist. So you need to understand the differences here. You've got you've got Iranian Arabs, and you've got Persian Arabs. Sorry, you've got Persian Iranians. Sorry, and Persians. So it's very difficult. The water's muddy, right? The water's muddy when you're talking about these things. Right, guys, let me just jump down because there's loads of comments on the chat, and I don't want to swizzle, but hang on, Silly is saying, what is the big or Iran with us? We are thousands of miles away. They were our besties before the revolution. It's a religion thing. Right, Silly, I might have missed your last comment. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. What is have you misspelled something? What is the big or Iran with us? I don't. Do you mean beef? What's the beef? I don't know what that means. We are thousands of miles away. They were our besties before the revolution. It's our religion thing. I think you're okay. I think what you okay, silly. If I may interject a word that I think you're trying, I think you meant big and your spell correct, your like spell checker thing got you. I think you meant beef instead of big. So I'll read this again, and I may be wrong, and please correct me if I am wrong. I don't mean to like, if this is something else, then please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think what Silly is saying is, what is the beef with Iran with us? We are thousands of miles away. Obviously, for those of you guys who don't know, Silly's in Israel. Well, Silly, I wish I had an answer for that. I really do wish I had an answer to that for you. What I do know is what I'll always say. Right, all these wars are pointless. Right, we should build spaceships, we should build space technology, and we should stop fighting among each other, and we should go into the stars. That's what I think we should do. However, if you live in the United Kingdom, you will understand where Silly's coming from, where she's saying it's a religion thing. Because here in the United Kingdom, we do have our own problems, right? We do have our own problems, but, you know, I don't have an answer to that, Silly. I really don't have an answer. If those of you guys, listen, those of you guys who don't know, when the Islamic Republic took over in, when was it? In the 1980s. Was it 79? I can't remember. I might be slightly wrong on these dates. There was a huge roundup and gathering of people who opposed the regime. You guys, all you need to do is look at Wikipedia. Iran massacre 1980s. There was a lot of people who got sent to the candy shop, and the regime lives on. So look, guys, it's a crazy world we're living in right now. It really is. Oh, hang on. Googleinos is saying Ukraine peace talks with Russia and US fall apart in under 2 hours. Listen, guys, I am going to focus this live stream, right, on what's going on in Iran and how that's going to affect people in the United Kingdom, right? But can you guys all remember, right? Can you guys all remember when I was saying, not a chance is Donald Trump having a peace negotiation in Ukraine. Not a chance in a diddly swizzle. Not a chance in a diddly swizzle is there going to be peace in Ukraine. It's just not going to happen. It's not on the cards. This is going to drag Europe in. It's going to drag Europe. It's going to drag NATO minus the United States, i.e. Europe. Remember, I was saying long before any of these half-witted mainstream media pundits said it, I was saying us Europeans need to pull our big boy pants on and deal with this, because the United States, they don't want none of it. They're going into the Middle East. Turns out, recently, on mainstream media, they're saying, Europeans need to pull together and deal with a world without the United States. I'm like, yeah, like literally, people, honestly, if you had any idea of the amount of project proposals I've sent in to the MOD, only for them to be rejected, and then 2-3 years later, they get funded by Lockheed Martin, or Lockheed Martin will propose the same thing and they get funded, and you're like, oh, okay. Right, that's how we roll. But yeah, there's gonna be no such crazy thing as peace. There can't be, guys. There can't be any peace in Ukraine right now. Neither side is ready. Neither side's ready. Neither side's in the geographical position to accept peace or to neither side geographically. Neither side's in a place where they can have a defensive position, right? Right, I'm jumping down, guys. Listen, there's quite a lot on the chat, and I do apologize if I'm missing anybody's comments. Lewis Ackers is saying we don't want either, but will be expected to do so. What a load of something and bank. I don't know what that's in context to. Santi Todd is saying F Ukraine. I think that means French connection, UK, Ukraine. And look, guys, I totally accept people have got like different opinions on this. And, you know, I've got friends who I consider family who live in Ukraine. So I'm totally pro Ukraine, but what I am also pro UK, and I'm pro securing our borders, and I'm pro like stopping the invasion on the south coast, and I'm pro making things safe in this country before we go into other countries. But look, whether you agree with what I'm saying or not, it's happening, right? It's like what I say all the time, and people like argue with me like I'm like I have some say. Whether you agree with supporting Ukraine or not, it's happening, right? It's happening. Whether you agree with the war in this country or not, it's happening. So what I do on this channel, excuse me, I do apologize. So what I do on this channel is I tell people what's coming, right? I don't really gaslight people on what's happening now. I just say, look, this is what's coming in the future. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump back on track because I know everybody wants to jump back on track. Right, I'm going to need to go for a wee in a second. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk now about how sleeper cells are going to affect people in the United Kingdom. So if you live in the United Kingdom right now, I do. This war well, it's not even happened yet. The war that will happen in Iran, March 2026, like I keep saying, like for 2 years. And you know what makes me laugh, right? You know what makes me laugh? People that challenge me, like honestly, people that challenge what I'm saying. And I don't mean challenge people challenge what I'm saying by like what they agree with. People that challenge me, what I say, what's coming, because it's coming. Mass exodus to Antarctica, absolutely coming. United States takeover of the United Kingdom, absolutely coming. Aliens, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen this year. So look, listen, guys, I'm conscious of the time, so let's just get on to this, all right? I'm going to talk now about how conflict in Iran, United States strike options in Iran, will more than certainly, potentially for entertainment purposes, allegedly, activate sleeper cells in the United Kingdom. Why do I say that? Well, funny you should ask. Because the drums of war are beating louder than ever right now in the Middle East. Here in Britain, we face a chilling reality that is on our doorsteps. As Donald Trump amasses US warships in the Middle East, the biggest military buildup in the Middle East since the Gulf War. And honestly, all these points I said to you guys, it's all true. It's all there now. It's all quantifiable. So the United States have amassed the biggest military buildup in the Middle East since the Gulf War in 2003. Threatening strikes on Iran if they don't cave on a nuclear deal. Tehran's not just rattling sabers back home. They've got networks embedded deep in the West, waiting for the signal, waiting for the strike command. And if the United States launches a full-blown military operation, those Iranian-backed sleeper cells operating right here in the United Kingdom could and probably will spring into action, turning our streets into a battlefield of shadows. So let's not sugarcoat anything, right? Let's be real and let's understand. Let me give you guys some real, if you guys were on the live stream last night, I wish I still had the videos. We have convicted terrorists standing for election in Birmingham. Right now, most local councillors in Birmingham don't speak English. I'm not making that up, guys. The people who are standing for local election in Birmingham, they don't speak English. I'm not making that up. That's their own, that's their own, election campaign. So I don't want to sugarcoat anything to anyone. Big towns, big cities have already fallen. MI5 and our own security services are already disrupted, and I did a specific live stream on this. I've already disrupted over, I think, 20 potentially lethal Iran-backed plots on the UK in the, I can't remember what year it was. I think it was 24. Using firearms and explosives, targeting, dissidents, targeting journalists. Lots of Jewish communities were targeted, kidnapping, intimidation. Iran's Revolutionary Guard isn't playing games. They know this dynamic. And look, guys, I don't want to go on to it again. I talked about this quite in depth earlier on this morning. The way you subvert a country. Send one man. I'm going to run through. Send one man. Give him $1,000 a week, a month. Say, right, listen, mate, Raven, when you get to the United Kingdom as a refugee, I'm paying you £1,000 a month or whatever. You get to the United Kingdom, go to Birmingham, settle in Birmingham, and your task is to work your way up through local council. That's it. That's all you do. He then awards contracts. Those contracts are then owned by Iranian companies. Those Iranian companies are then taking UK taxpayers' money to fund their own revolution, to fund their own war. So we are funding our own demise in so many ways, guys. In so many ways we are funding our own demise. The only way around this, and nobody's going to do this, the only way around this is to get everybody that's foreign, get everyone out the country. And that's going to be painful and it's never going to happen. So the other option is we're going to fall. They're using online grooming and social media to recruit men of Middle Eastern and Eastern European backgrounds living among us. And, years ago, I was saying we are heading towards a new direction. We're heading towards a new direction. The one direction we're heading towards where where you don't need to use expensive drones or strike options. You can literally just pay someone. Do you want $5,000? Yes. Right. Go burn that substation down. Okay. Do you want another $5,000? Yes. Right. Go burn that one down. Sleeper cells, lone wolf, operatives ready to act on Tehran's orders. This is not a fantasy. This is a reality. This is a reality confirmed by security officials in the United Kingdom. They're radicals linked to proxies like Hezbollah, blended into our communities, holding down jobs, promoting themselves, biding their time. Intelligence services have been sounding the alarm. Iran's organized, funded these cells across Europe, including right here in the United Kingdom. And they could be given the green light, and I say they will be given the green light, if the conflict in the Persian Gulf erupts. Just think about it, guys, okay? Think about what this actually means for... think about this, what this actually means if you live in the United Kingdom, right? If Trump gives the go-ahead for strikes, B-2 bombers hitting nuclear facilities, U.S. Special Forces, FA-18s, whatever, the Strait of Hormuz clamped shut, Iran won't just fight back regionally. They will go asymmetric. Non-conventional. They will use grey warfare, activating these networks to strike Western soft targets. We've seen the patterns, plots linked to criminal gangs like Foxtrots, hired for violence against Jewish and Israeli targets on behalf of the regime. Here in the United Kingdom, we are not averse. We are not unexposed to these attacks. Experts warn it's not new. Iran uses small clandestine cells for assassinations, targeting dissidents and collaborating with criminal networks. And the United Kingdom is squarely in their sights. Community centres, mosques, policy officials, high streets, churches, police, Nothing's off. But when you're talking about asymmetric warfare, nothing is off the cards. People have no idea about asymmetric warfare and how to wage it because people have no idea. Our government, they're clearly not blind to it. The Foreign Secretary has been clear. We won't tolerate any Iran-backed threats, and we're sanctioning their proxies left and right. But that doesn't matter because you need to prove these things. You need to be able to identify these things. You need to identify who the proxies are. Are they proxies? Are they criminal gangs? Right, you guys burning that substation down. Are you just criminals looking to do criminal damage? Or are you Iranian-backed proxies? It's virtually impossible to differentiate, right? With tensions high, one spark could ignite and will ignite chaos here in the United Kingdom. I'm talking about power grids, infrastructure, gas, electric, water, lone wolves with knives, stabby, rammy, coordinated hits. They're the things that look like it will happen here in the United Kingdom when this, when these strike options go ahead in the Middle East. Right, listen, guys, I'm absolutely bursting for a wee. Give me less than 1 minute. I'm going to run in the house. I'm going to come straight back. I'm dying for a wee. Give me a second. And I'm back. Thank you for hanging around, ladies and gentlemen. Right, let me finish this. Because it's going a bit flat. And one thing I don't like is flat beer. I don't like flat warm beer, but flat cold beer is like almost as bad. No Go Deals is saying we are... No Good Deals, sorry, not No Go Deals. No Good Deals is saying we are a calculated risk in the West. They probably more than likely know that there are sleeper cells or radicalized people, but these people cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's always for the greater good. I'm thinking GG means greater good. I agree. I absolutely agree. I wouldn't feel safe if the Iranians had a nuclear weapon. I absolutely would not. That doesn't change things if you live in the United Kingdom, right? Whether the Iranians have got a nuclear weapon or not, or whether there's a war or whatever, still, in the United Kingdom, the activation of sleeper cells will happen. So, yes, I totally agree what you're saying about calculated risks. You have to do things you always have to do things for the greater good. I think that's a big problem. that, it's not a problem. It is a problem. It's a problem that people don't do that, right? If everybody always did things for the greater good, then you really wouldn't have any problem. But it turns out that if you live in the West, most politicians don't do things for the greater good. They do things for their own good, right? And that's kind of a bad thing, because the greater good gets sent down to the side, and then you come to catastrophic situations like we are now, where we are looking like a full-scale assault on Iran. Bowser head teacher is saying Rupert Lowe as Minister of Deportations. Well, I thought everybody wanted Rupert Lowe to be Prime Minister. I thought everybody wanted Rupert Lowe to be Prime Minister. Listen, everybody's talking about mass deportations, all right? As much as, look, I've literally just said, right? I literally said, like, I don't know, 2 minutes ago or whatever. Most of all the problems in the United Kingdom can be solved by just getting rid of everybody who shouldn't be here, everybody who doesn't want to give for the greater good for this country. That means all foreign investment. That means all foreign nationals and their families. Just get rid of everyone, right? That's what needs to be done. I don't think that's ever going to happen, and that's being realistic. That I'm being realistic. Like, how are you gonna like? Let me just Google something. Oh, that's not the right question. Sorry, I'm just trying to Google something to give you guys some numbers. Right, okay. So based on recent data, the UK has a substantial foreign-born population, first generation and significant second generation population born in the United Kingdom. So first generation, right? So we have first generation foreigners. As of 2021-2022 census, there were approximately 10.7 million people living in the United Kingdom who were born abroad, right? 10.7 million people, all right? Second generation foreigners born in the UK to parents born abroad. That's 3.5 million. So let's just call that 14 million, shall we? Let's call that 14, whatever. Let's just call that 14 million, right? That doesn't include asylum seekers. That doesn't include migrants. That's just, that's what that is. So 14 million people, I say, should not be here. That's what I'm saying. At least 14 million people. Now, does anybody think you can deport 14 million people? Not a chance. Not a chance. And look, guys, I don't want to be like, I don't want to be the harbinger of bad news. I'm being the harbinger of realism, all right? Nobody is deporting 14 million people. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. It's not going to happen. So what is the outcome? Nothing good, right? Bowser head teachers say, stop sleeper cells, stop grooming gangs, stop international banks, ban the Fabian Society and conduct mass deportations. Right, guys, we're not going to be able to, nobody's going to be able to deport 14 million people. It's absurd. Maybe 500,000. And then what? And then what? Literally, and then what? We are heading towards a mass exodus of Western culture to Antarctica. That's where we're going, guys. That is literally where we're going. Bowser is saying, I will deport millions of people. Right, Bowser, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? And I'm not being negative. I'm just saying you can't do that. It's like logistically impossible. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me get this up. Let me share this with you guys. So, hang on, where are we? Russia, China, Iran deploy ships for joint exercise in the Strait of Hormuz. So this is happening now. This is happening, this is happening right now. Russia, China, and Iran have been deployed. Right, there's a bit I want to. Right, do you know what? I'm not going to worry about that bit. This is the bit I want to talk about here. Hang on. This bit here, not this bit. Hang on. That bit. So, participating navies practice coordinating efforts to protect trade routes, which he said are becoming increasingly vulnerable. The Maritime Security Belt 2006 exercise in the Strait of Hormuz, where Russia, China, and Iran sent their ships, proved to be relevant, he added. The Maritime Security Belt is set to be hosted by Iran mid-February in the Strait of Hormuz, which lies between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, one of the world's most strategically important choke points, according to the semi-official Tasnim news agency. Here's the thing here, guys, okay? There's no such thing, there's no such thing as, there's no such thing as military There's no such thing as military exercises. It's war rehearsals. So let's look at this article again. Russia, China, Iran deploy ships for joint war rehearsal in the Strait of Hormuz. The Maritime Security Belt 2026 exercise in the Strait of the Maritime Security Belt 2026 war rehearsal in the Strait of Hormuz. You see, when you change that word, exercise for war rehearsals, it lets you guys know what's happening. And look, I think tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to do another Prepping 101 video, and I'm going to talk about sleeper cell activations, what to expect, and how to get out of that. Because I do think that's a likelihood, like next month. Like I keep saying, ladies and gentlemen, March 2026, boots on the ground in our military strike options, at least in Iran. So, if you live in the United Kingdom, and I know a lot of you do, or Europe, or the West, or wherever you live, it doesn't really matter where you live, because, I don't know, maybe like, where's safe? Maybe like Nicaragua? Paraguay, go to Paraguay. You'll be safe in Paraguay. You'll be safe in Paraguay. If you live in the United Kingdom, I know a lot of you guys do, we are totally I can't. If I was to go through issue by issue how cooked we were, it would take an hour and a half at least. That's just, and that would be me just rattling it off constantly. We're subverted, we're infiltrated. The best example, guys, look, if you're watching for the first time, right? If you're watching for the first time, make sure you hit those buttons down below, the like, follow, comment, subscribe, all those things really help me out. But if you're watching for the first time, right? And you're looking at me and thinking, Sean, you're just being crazy. You're going cray, Sean. You're Raven, you're cray. Consider this. West Midlands Police openly fabricated evidence. I like to use the word lied, right? West Midlands Police lied about evidence to stop Maccabi Tel Aviv fans coming to West Midlands to support that there was a football game, right? I'm not into football, guys. I genuinely couldn't care less. What I do care about is a mob taking over the police and conducting subversive tactics. So now we genuinely have had a situation where a police force in the United Kingdom has been infiltrated by whoever, and they now do as they're told. Birmingham Council is going to be a fantastic one. It's going to be a case study, right? You know when all this ends? You know when all this ends, and it will end. It will end at some point. I think you honestly, and I know this is crazy, right? I've said wild shit before, right? I've said wild shit before, and I'll say wild shit again. I talk about aliens, guys, so trust me, I say wild shit. This will end with a mass exodus of Western culture to Antarctica. There's no other way around it, guys. There's no other way around it. You know, mass deportations. What, 14 million? Like, you're going to deport 14 million? Like, you any idea, like, what that entails? So you're going to deport 14 million people, right? Yes. Okay. Do you think they're going to come quietly into that good night, sir? Or do you think they're going to rage at the break of dawn? Rage for those old men who know no light. Their tongues fork such lightning when they raged against the dying of the light. Do you think those 14 million people in the United Kingdom are just going to go peacefully? No, they're going to resist. They're going to not want to go. They're going to be putting claims in. They're going to be. It's not a chance, guys. Not a chance. Oh, but if Rupert Lowe gets in, he's going to change the law. Fine, if he changes the law. Those people will still resist deportation. What do I mean by resist deportation? Excuse me, sir, we're going to deport you. Nope, you're not. I'm going to run off. Yeah, there's 14 million people who are going to take me in. Okay, right, fair enough. If the United States can't do it with their robust laws, their robust president, right? Because he's rock and roll. Listen, whether you like Trump or not, nobody can say that Donald Trump is not rock and roll. He's awesome to watch. Like, I don't know if he I think in another life, Donald Trump could have had he could have had a good career as a comedian because he's so funny. His timing and his articulation, the way he comes out with some things, it's just amazing. Whether you like him or not, you can't, I don't like Obama, but he's like one of the coolest men you'll ever meet. Right, let me jump onto the chat, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just conscious of the time. Oh, hang on a minute. Slim is saying we're never going to Antarctica. Slim sent a super to say we are never going to Antarctica. It's freezing. Right, who thinks it's cold in Antarctica? Right, with Western technology, right, the oil, the minerals, the resources that are in Antarctica, doesn't matter the external temperature because we can make our own biomes down there. We can build our own structures. Like, think center parks on steroids. Think what, can you imagine, right? Can you imagine what 10 million Westerners could do? 10 million Europeans, the real Europeans that go and conquer things and build civilizations. Just think what a million, think what 100,000, think what 100,000 Europeans could do in Antarctica with unlimited oil, machinery, technology. Just think what we could build down there. It would be beautiful. It would be a fucking utopia. Our children would grow up only knowing science, technology, and exploration. Jesus Christ. Just saying that, I sent the hairs on the back of my hands going wild. Can you imagine your children growing up? They learn nothing. They know nothing of war. All they know is science, technology, exploration, expansion. And that's how the human race expands. That's what we do. Unfortunately, we're stuck on this ridiculous planet fighting in like mud and snow and sand over like finite resources when there's infinite resources, you know, in space. J. Paul is saying Antarctica got illegal immigration. Fuck ice, fucking ice everywhere. I like that. Well done, J. Paul. Well done, Paul J. Expunge the fucks here. I don't know what that means, Yaragatsu. I don't know what that means, Yaragatsu. Emma Jane Taylor is saying, I think it's cold there. Yes, it is cold in Antarctica. Look, it's cold in the Lake District, but there's a Center Parks, right, in the Lake District, and it's got like a glass dome over it, and you've got like tropical rainforests, right, with enough energy, with enough oil and electricity. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Like, if you've got... Listen, guys, I'm going down space stuff now. I'm starting on space stuff. If you've got a unlimited energy budget, and look, have you seen these robots, these these Chinese robots, these like, honestly, I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow on this. I've got 2 big lives. I'm probably going to have to do like 5 live streams tomorrow. Have you guys seen these Chinese robots? That's it. We are cooked. Put a rifle in those guys' hands. It's candy shop for everyone. These Chinese robots that you've seen, there is no job that humans can do that they cannot. So what that means is that means that money, it becomes irrelevant because no one really cares. The only real, and I've said this a few times, when you start talking about space exploration or deep exploration, the only real currency is energy. It is, guys. The only real, I mean, it's everybody's biggest expenditure, right? So the only real currency is energy. Now, there's more oil. There's more oil in Antarctica, in the British Antarctic territory, than there is, twice as much actually, than there is in Saudi Arabia. So there's plenty of energy to be going for the next 100, 200 years down there. Lewis Ackers is saying, Sean loves a fat jointy. Do you know what, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I got some discounted beef today from like a warehouse I go to. I got normally like your what is it? I think it's Topside. It was like a huge 2 kilo joint. I think he wanted like £5, and he had, anyway, they would only let you have 3 per customer. So I bought the shit out of 3, went back and bought another 3. Sparto Swede is saying, when we start talking about taking responsibility for rocks in space worth more than the entire world's GDP for 10 years, people can't believe it, but won't stop even notice. I agree, mate. I agree. You know, we're fighting wars, right, on Earth for breadcrumbs. We are literally fighting wars on Earth for breadcrumbs. That's the reality, you know. Oil, a little bit of oil there, a couple of diamonds there. There's a space rock called 433 Eros, or Eros 433. Now, that is classed as an easily recoverable object, an ERO. 433 Eros has more gold. Well, they don't know how much gold it's got, but they're saying that there is over $3 trillion. No, is it? Or is it? Basically, if you went to this asteroid or this comet, whatever it is, you know, there's more gold, platinum, rare earth materials on that asteroid. It would crash the market. Like, there's so much gold flying around space, and we're fighting over like literally nothing. Oil, hydrocarbons, Titan, one of the moons of Saturn, it's made of hydrocarbons. Like if we got to Titan and took the oil, you wouldn't need to have any more. There'd be plenty for everyone, but we're not doing that, right? Instead of going and getting the plentiful resources that would make everybody's life prosper, we're fighting wars and killing people over. It's just so ridiculous, guys. Wars are so ridiculous. They are so ridiculous. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at the time. Let me get back onto Watchman is saying the 14th pint. No, I'm on my 3rd pint. Right, listen, guys, let me jump back on track. Because we are going on a massive side quest. We are going on a massive side quest. I'm talking today about World War III ready to go. The United States are deploying more assets, more regional assets, more logistics, more ships, more aircraft into that region. Also, at the same time, you've got Russia, China, and Iran deploying on a joint exercise in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, remember, what we need to say is there is no such thing as an exercise. There is war rehearsals. War rehearsals will concentrate on the most likely event. So the Russians, the Chinese, and the Iranians, they will have obviously had some joint agreement. Now, I don't know what that joint agreement is, obviously, because I'm not privy to the Russian Council or the Chinese Council or the Iranian Ministry of Defense. But what I would say is they've got something like NATO have, where an attack on one member state is deemed an attack on all member states. And I would suspect that if the Americans do strike Iran, the Iranians would have some support from Russia and China. Now, I don't think that's going to be full-scale military options. I would say it's going to be more in the case of logistics and technology. Remember, you can drive from Iran to Russia. You can drive from Iran to China. It's a long drive, but you can do this by, road. So you don't need those naval options, right? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are fantastic as always. Oh, hang on a minute. Sijika is saying war exercises are to correct weakness and create a solid battle plan. They are indeed, good sir. They are indeed. Louis Hackers is saying beef Wellington. I love a beef Wellington. I do. I love a beef Wellington. The trick with a beef Wellington, right? The trick with a beef Wellington is you need to really sear the bottom. You really need to sear that thing because you don't want any of those juices falling out. So, get some mushrooms in there, get some breadcrumbs in that bottom base because you don't want those breadcrumbs falling out and soaking the bottom of that mixture of that of the pastry. You can probably drive from South America to Russia if the tide is out. South America to Russia? Yeah, I think you can. No, I think you can do that in winter. I think you can make that drive in winter. So you drive all the way up through like North America, Canada, Alaska, and then over the Bering Point, because in winter, the Bering Point is frozen. Winner M2M is saying Danny Tomo went to the Ashley Hotel where that horrific thing happened and there's still children there. Listen, guys, okay, I'm going to be talking more about this stuff tomorrow. We're in a swizzle, right? We're fucked. We are absolutely swizzled. We are too far gone in the United Kingdom to be able to vote our way out of this. Best case scenario, we have a civil war and then we have 15-minute cities, right? That's best case scenario right now. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, Band Again. Where's Band Again's comment? Hang on. Band Again is saying a nice stew this weather. Yeah, I love it. We love a nice stew. Right, we're not talking about food. Right. Can you do a cooking episode? I shouldn't I? Listen, for those of you guys who become members, I'm going to do the final episode to our Swedish vodka tomorrow. So the Swedish vodka's ready. It's done. It's finished. It's a little bit cloudy, but you know, whatever, it's done. For context, for those of you guys who are not members, I've done a little series on how to make Swedish vodka. Now, we made, I think, 10 liters of Swedish vodka for like, I think it was like £2 or something, right? Tomorrow I'm going to do a video for the members, and I'm going to decide, and we're going to see how much what alcohol content is in that Swedish vodka. It's nowhere near 40% or anything. It's going to be like I'm hoping that's going to be on par with like a really strong wine. So I'm hoping it's going to be like maybe 13, 14, maybe 15%. I don't know. It might be a lot less. But what I wanted to do in that video, on those videos, I wanted to make it as cheap as possible with everyday items everybody's got, because I do make a lot of beer. I make a lot of wine. You know, I make a lot of stuff. But I've got all the kit and equipment. I didn't want to be that douchebag saying, yes, this is what you do. You get one of these, and you're like, well, how much does that cost? And you're like, oh, these are about £700 each. And you're like, well, I'm never going to do that. And how much does it cost to fill it? Well, it probably costs about another 150 to fill it. You're never going to do that. So what I wanted to do with those videos for the members is just do it so it's like as cheap as possible for everyone. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are fantastic. You're always going to be fantastic, and you're fair as anything. Let's keep an eye on this, guys, okay? Because the Iran, Russia, China joining forces, the United States are ready to strike. All this is spelling out sleeper cell activation if you live in the United Kingdom, okay? And on that bombshell, I'm going to close this down. Make sure you're back on tomorrow morning at 10, bright and early, guys, and I'll keep everybody updated. And I bid you all good evening.